Alright, so I'm doing a challenge trying to platinum every single game inside of the Ubisoft Plus game catalog on PlayStation. And if I can't do it before we hit 690,000 subscribers on YouTube, then I have to tattoo the platinum logo somewhere on my body. So make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Alright, so I've been getting asked to play The Crew 2 next for so many videos in a row since beginning this challenge, which is why today I chose to do The Crew 2. This is a sequel to the Crew video game and also one of the most divided racing games I have ever seen. You either love The Crew 2 or you hate it. Or I guess maybe 3, or you just don't care. Not too much in between if we were being honest. But the game only has a total of 35 trophies inside, including the platinum, and most are gotten in the story, with the cleanup section being only an hour or two long. Also, before we get into The Crew 2, if anyone would like to assist me in making the Far Cry 4 platinum video, I desperately need people to queue up for online play because the servers are dead. So if you want to be in a video and can, then join my Discord below and jump into the Far Cry 4 section, and I'll probably be on once this video goes up. Anyways, the first stage in the Crew 2 Platinum Trophy is to play through the entire story and beat every racing class's boss. Now you have to achieve 50% completion of progress in the class before you can face them. And by the way, when I first started playing again, I had 2 trophies. But also, figuring out how to raise that progress bar can be extremely annoying if you never played the game before like myself. So I deadass spent like 10 hours straight on just the street racing class because I was pointlessly doing every race and the high difficulties also. When a much better method is to just do the basic races on all the vehicle types so you're not wasting time. Before that major annoyance though, when I first started up this game again, I was very confused on what to do, and I landed on just playing the freestyle races and activities first. And I got my first trophy also after I completed this skill challenge where you had to do a dive and all these specific tasks to get points. This trophy, by the way, is just from reaching popular level of followers in the game. Followers are given for pretty much anything basically, so they're essentially useless. But I did get another trophy along with it for completing a hard difficulty event. And for the next hour after, I was just sort of trying to figure out what was going on, if I'm being honest. The Crew 2 is a very simple game once you understand how it works, but if you don't, it's one of the most random and confusing things you're ever gonna play.
That's what I'm saying.
And the next trophy I got was at random when I beat one of my friend's ghosts in an event. So take that, whatever 12-year-old I just destroyed. That sounds kind of wrong out of context, don't tell Drake. Alright, so now I finally had enough of the freestyle races because most are just skill crap and only have to do with points, which gets pretty frustrating in honesty. So I finally moved over to the first class of racing called street racing, an absolute classic and another place where I learned a lot about this game. You don't get very many trophies for anything within these races, by the way, aside from the occasional follower upgrade trophy like this one right here. I also started playing with some of the boys to get the co-op trophies out of the way in addition, since they are relatively easy. And on a very annoying ice track race later on, I ended up completing my first event while in a crew. Ha, get it? This game is called The Crew because you can play with friends inside of a crew. Okay, I'm gonna go jump off a bridge.
Oh my god!
About an hour or two after that trophy pop from playing with a crew for the first time, I ended up reaching over 50 kilometers driven within a crew in the middle of this race right here, which was a trophy. And funnily enough, right after that trophy popped, it was nearing the end of the race also, and once I finished that race, I tipped over the edge of the star level for popularity and received another trophy. I was also modifying my car in the home base later, and chose this boring ass white color, which is the most bland race if we are being honest, but it did give me a trophy from changing the color on my car, so that's cool. I then tragically spent the next few hours replaying the same races in the street race section, but on higher difficulties, not knowing that it hardly affects the progress bar. It does a tiny bit, but nothing in comparison to just playing all the levels you can in the street racing class overall. Sorry if that's a bad explanation of how the XP works in this game, but I'm also a bit retarded. Although due to this mental disability, I did still keep on gaining loads of followers and money from finishing and winning all of these races, and I ended up reaching the icon stage of followers. This is basically the endless follower ranking where it just goes from icon 1 to like icon 1000 or something stupid. But it does give you a trophy for initially reaching it. And about an hour later, I was doing these very annoying races called Interceptor 1s, which have you drive a police car and just ram into people going over 200 miles per hour. So it's probably not the safest thing to do in a city, and it's also very annoying since this game makes it way harder to destroy a car than it needs to be. Anyways, I ended up finishing an ace level difficulty event here, I think. That is the hardest one gun, by the way, so don't talk on my police work skills. But I got given some insanely good vehicle parts and finally reached a maxed out vehicle with the performance level being as high as it can be. And yes, that is also a trophy. Who would have guessed? I then got a bit bored of these damn races because I was like making zero progress and also sort of losing my mind a bit. You know the definition of insanity, right? Yeah, that's what playing the Crew 2 feels like sometimes. So yeah, I got this trophy next for getting over 500 followers in one freestyle sequence. Or as us simple folk like to call it, the open world. And it was just from me barreling down the street at again over 200 miles per hour, nearly crashing into things. I guess this game's AI has good taste after all. And finally, after like 10 hours of gameplay, I managed to break away from my normal street racing addiction and realized that there's actually other things to do in this game. That being drifting next. So at first when starting drifting, I was absolutely horrible, but I ended up somewhat figuring it out. I am by no means a good drifter in the Crew 2, but I am good enough to finish the basic events and also reach over 100,000 points in one for a trophy specifically. I also did the drag races after, which were super quick and also super simple. You literally just press a button when you're supposed to on green and you win. So yeah, that was a huge help in getting my dumbass progress bar to 50% so I could play this final boss race right now. The boss races all usually contain multiple vehicles inside of them, and this first one was against Tio. Loki, it's kind of a weird name, and his race was also weird. It only consisted of hypercars and streetcars, so I guess we are just forgetting completely about drifting and drag racing. Yes, you get a trophy after beating him. He was a little bit salty. The next racing class I chased down, or rather raced down, was called the Pro Racing Scene. This one has like F1 cars and also planes and shit. But it also went by super fast, and I got a fat-ass donut of 0 trophies in my journey into the final race against Clarence. Whenever I hear that name, this is the kid I think of. So if your name is Clarence, I am just extremely sorry for your loss. That is a hard L. But his boss race was very easy, and for some reason we also pulled out the F1 cars in the snow. Seems like the worst idea ever, but you know what? They still drove. Might need a fact check on that in reality, but hey, a trophy is a trophy. Next class up is Freestyle on the list. And I already did a lot of this one since when I first started playing this game again, that is what I was messing around in, as you all already know. So I just had to clean up some random activities and was doing more of those point gathering things, which I honestly am kind of washed up in, you know, after all the car racing I've been doing, which led me to drive so far away from society that I reached the world end and got a trophy for doing that. The freestyle boss, by the way, is a girl, which is a first, and her name is Sophia. Her eyes are probably the last thing you're gonna see before dying. This boss race, though, is probably the lamest out of them all, which is sad because monster trucks are literally a part of their freestyle racing. But you just start with a shitty speedboat and end with a monster truck that can't get traction because you have to drive through mud and water. Also, there was absolutely 0 freestyling happening, and I kind of want to punch Sophia in the face. Not only because of her looks, by the way. I did get a trophy after winning that, though. After I played the final normal race class in the main story, the Off-Road series. This race class contains dirt bikes, dirt cars, dirty bitches. Yeah, so I started with dirt bikes because I feel like this is as off-road as it's gonna get, and I ended up nailing a 100-meter jump with one almost right away and got a trophy from that. Cool little Assassin's Creed reference in addition, not gonna lie. The game also thought it was funny to give me a trophy called Reality Check for playing this game for 24 hours. I don't need any more reminders I'm a loser, okay? I have 112 platinum trophies. That's enough humiliation to begin with. Anyways, the next trophy I got was from just reaching icon level 50 in the follower count system. No clue how many that is, by the way, because the game doesn't tell you, but yeah, that did happen. Next trophy was then from beating the off-road boss named Tucker Morgan, a true American name if I do say so for myself. Anyways, his race was the most predictable one, to be honest, consisting of almost entirely off-road racing and none of that F1 BS from earlier. But sadly, he gave us a long and righteously cringe monologue after that I almost fell asleep to, and I got his trophy once he shut the f up. I then played the final race in the game, which is called the Grand Finale. Coincidence? I think not. And it was actually super simple. Just F1, hypercars, and that's about it. So overall, very easy, and there is the final main story trophy inside of the Crew 2. Now it's time to clean up the game. Gosh, I'm so excited. The first trophy that I had to do was this one gotten from taking 40 photo op pictures in the game. This, by the way, took me over 2 hours to do, and I got a trophy right away after using the camera for the first time. But anyways, a photo op is a challenge inside of all the race divisions as a little extra thing to get money and followers from. Each one has a different little hint on it about where the picture is, and than what you need to get in frame for it. Overall, it's just really annoying, especially some of the tasks you have to do because they can be quite particular. And if someone can please explain to me what qualifies as an aerial view, I would really appreciate it because I spent forever trying to get that and it became more of a mystery than females. However, I did get the 40 photo ops done after a while and only want to cry a tad bit. This feeling of tears dripping down my face was only increased on the next trophy though because it's gotten from completing the longest race in the game, as far as I know. It's a street race and it's from New York all the way to Los Angeles. So basically you cross the entire realistic size of America. And it took me just under 40 minutes to do, but I did get first place, so suck that AI. I then went back and did like 2 of the race events I had yet to do so I could complete them all because I hadn't quite done that in my process of getting through all the bosses. And I also had to complete every single skill in the game in addition, which was very similar to the last trophy, yet it's still different, goddammit. I then replayed the same event over and over 3 times until this trophy gotten from replaying events popped into my lap. I then test drove the most expensive car in the main game and got a trophy after driving 2 kilometers with it. Just a little taste into heaven with the Kanasag. I also rewatched a race class's ending cutscene because I had maxed out one but never sat and watched the entire thing, and apparently it's a trophy, you know, if you don't just skip it like everyone else. And then I upgraded my favorite car to have all of the epic parts in it next because that used to be the highest part level in the game. Since release though, they did add legendary parts, but that doesn't matter because there's the trophy. I then decided to grind out the last hard trophy of the game, and it's just from playing through the live extreme series of racing. There's like 6 of these total or something, and each are unlocked after you reach follower goals in the main story. But I sadly didn't know these existed, so I totally brushed past them, and I ended up finishing them all right here without any trouble because they are extremely aged and for much lower level times. The final trophy I had left was to just get 30 different vehicles in the game. This is a lot easier than it sounds though because the cheapest vehicles cost from ranges between $10 to like multiple different $30,000 to $70,000 ones. So yeah, there's the final trophy followed with the glorious platinum trophy right after. That was the Crew 2 Platinum Trophy experience. Overall, pretty good game. Although it was a little bit too confusing at first for my liking, which is why I think a lot of people stray away from it. Mostly because it's hard to get hooked when a game is unclear on what the hell is really going on. But yeah, it played good and had no bugs, also working online, so I would probably recommend you to platinum it also. Putting it on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna say a solid 6 because it wasn't great, definitely not better than Forza at all, and just above mid in my opinion. Anyways, that's all. Thanks for watching, you dirty little slut.